You are watching All Things Real Estate and More with AnnRileyCaldwell, with a brand new episode on Closing Day.
I'm AnnRileyCaldwell, and I'm a local realtor here in the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area, and I'm with Rowland from Signature Title, and we're talking about all kinds of things title related and trying to help get buyers and sellers where they want to be. Sellers out of their house and buyers into a house.
Exactly.
So one of the best things that we get to talk about is closing day.
Yay, we made it.
Yeah. So everybody wants to celebrate on closing days. So let's just do a quick overview. So there's a process, obviously buyers have to go through on their side, sellers have to go through on their side. With buyers, they have to get funding. They have to, make sure that they can afford the property. Sellers like it when that happens. We also have to, we've talked a lot about title insurance and the closing process and all the different people that get to touch the papers and look at everything. And then on the seller side, obviously they're trying to find the next place that they want to go. They're trying to make sure that the buyers can actually close on their loan and making sure that all the paperwork's in place. We want to know who all the sellers truly are. We've had a lot of conversations about that. We want to make sure buyers are getting deeds the way that they want their deeds to be, names on titles and things like that. So ultimately what we're trying to do is get everybody on the same page and get us on a path to closing.
Yeah.
So once we get to closing, that means that's the day hopefully that money transfers, keys transfer, and sellers are out of their house on time and buyers are into their house on time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so anyway, we get to be part of that process, so we get to celebrate with everybody when that happens. So that's exciting.
From a buyer standpoint, the good thing now is if you're getting a loan, they have to sign the closing disclosure 3 business days in advance. I know we've touched on that before.
That's 3. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2,
not
3.
1, not 2.
Yeah. So that's only been happening for a few years. It's not always been the case, but it's a beautiful thing because going into your closing what to expect. So, and that is if you're getting a loan. But even if you aren't getting a loan, those closing documents, they're put together in the ALTA, which is the summary of all the fees and figures, is typically sent to the agents and or customers a few days in advance. That way everyone can kind of look at it, make sure it looks okay to them. So basically once you get to closing, we're explaining documents to you, loan documents, just regular disclosures, deeds, things like that, and you're signing those things. So that process, there's a big misconception that it's a half-day process. For us, depending on the scenario, it's typically about 30 minutes or less. We always tell people to please bring 2 forms of ID. Sometimes
and that was 2.
That's 2. Sometimes only 1 is required, but I always tell people to have 2 just in case. It's important that you have your money the day of closing. So if you have to bring money to closing, this is the standard based on the Good Funds Act. Most title companies follow this, but we can accept personal checks up to $1,000. So money orders, personal checks for $1,000 or less. Cashier's checks for anything between $1,000 and $10,000. Anything over $10,000 would have to be a wire. The reason for that is just because fraud purposes. We've received a lot of fraudulent checks, even fraudulent cashier's checks.
And then from the seller side?
Yep, from the seller side. So we put together that ALTA statement or a seller closing disclosure. We'll send that to the agent and or seller a couple of days in advance so that they can kind of review it. And then we'll detail that for you at closing as well. I tell sellers from the beginning it's important to know what you owe on your house. I know that seems really silly, but there's a misconception between principal balance and payoff balance. So some people say, well, I owe my principal balance is $100,000, but when you add on fees, interest, different things like that, it might be $102,000. So we always encourage sellers up front to find out what their actual payoff is, but we get that from you throughout the process. But yeah, we try to get you that closing statement a couple of days in advance so that you can look over all the numbers and you know exactly what you're walking away with. You come in and sign. Honestly, seller's closing can take anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes. Right. It's a little bit easier. You have a lot less to sign.
You don't have that loan package
to
sign.
That's right. Yeah. So a loan package can be anywhere from 50 to 100 pages or more. A seller's closing package is typically around 20. So it's quite a bit easier. But yes, we will send those documents out so you can review your numbers. You basically just come in and sign. Same situation. You want to bring 1 form of identification when you're a seller. And then we just basically celebrate and have a good time after that.
And hopefully we all make it to closing day.
Yeah.
And
we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, we would love to help you you get there, and just reach out to us anytime and ask us questions.
We hope you enjoyed watching All Things Real Estate and More with AnnRileyCaldwell. To learn more about Ann Riley, or for your real estate needs, visit notyourordinaryagent.com or call 615-930-0313. Thanks for watching.